guys, Ash here with another Raid Shadow Legends champion guide, this time on Belanor. Belanor, a High Elf Void Affinity Legendary champion, companion champion with Zavia. Before we get to the guide, let's go ahead and give a shout out to some of you guys. We have Victus G, good guides, keep it up. May I recommend doing Belanor soon, very underrated in my book. Ricky Throne, we have Ricky Throne, we have Kenneth, we have Cube Ray, we have Matt, we have Gemini Man, we have I Am Your Real Dad coming in, chiming in. What's up, real dad? We have a lot of requests, I'm your real dad, man. That's an interesting one. Let's go ahead and take a look at Belanor. What do you say, guys? So guys, as I mentioned, we have Belanor is a High Elf Void Affinity Legendary. So here he is. He looks pretty cool. I mean, those wings are pretty pathetic, I'm not gonna lie. Those wings have absolutely been power crept to the nth degree inside the game. He actually recently received a very, very significant buff. I say recently, it's probably about a year ago, but it feels recent to me. He used to have insurmountable, let's talk about it as we go through the entirety of the kit, right? First of all, his defense isn't bad for an attack-based debuffer damage dealer, over 1,000. His HP is not good at 15k, and his attack is 1520, which is pretty good, for an attack-based legendary champion. On his A1, Sword Leader attacks one enemy, and we place a 30% increased crit rate on all allies for one turn, provided the attack is critical. Now, critical attack, that's great, but the increased crit rate on the A1 that needs to be critical, it is all allies, which is pretty cool. It's not a great little A1 ability here, the fact that it's a single target hitter, the fact that it's an increased crit rate that requires crit rate, and it's only one turn duration, but I will say this about it. It's not worthless. It's not useless. That's just wrong. The cool thing about increased crit rate is, especially if you have it on an AoE on everybody, even one turn, is think about all the champions on your teams that you don't crit cap at 100%, right? That you don't build to 100% crit rate. These little boosts of 30% crit rate sporadically throughout the duration of a battle, it actually does make a difference. You can get more critical hits on your supports, you know, not your main damage dealers, but it can be, you know, it can be a couple 100,000 extra damage or whatever, or on Hydra or wherever you're using him, right? So it's a nice little ability, but it's not a game changer, far from it. Insurmountable used to be a single target ability. Now it's an AoE. It really changed everything about the dynamics of this champion, what he can do and what he can't do previously. It's an AoE attack with the big version of decreased defense and weaken for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. Now there's only around, I don't know, 5 champions with this ability in the game. And you absolutely want to put special emphasis on the Void Affinity champions that can do this, namely Lydia the Death Siren, Venus, and Belanor. I feel like I'm missing somebody, but I think that's it in terms of having both big versions of the best damage, you know, increasing debuffs, maximizing debuffs out there on the same 3-turn ability, and you don't have to worry about bad affinity matchups as well. Obviously, there's like a Draco Morph who has the ability, but, you know, against Force Affinity, you can run into issues. Belanor doesn't have that, and it can't be resisted when Zavia's on the same team. He's also placing Perfect Veil on this champion for 2 turns. Perfect Veil is a 15% AoE damage mitigation, right? He also can't be targeted by a single target attacks, which is great as well. We have on the, and it's nice that the books only go to damage, right? Nice to have, but not mandatory that we book this champion. Far from it, right? On Overkill, attacks one enemy, will attack the enemy with the lowest HP with any surplus damage if the attack kills an enemy. The surplus damage cannot, however, be critical. This is on a 3-turn cooldown when booked, but again, you can get by without booking Belanor, like absolutely, especially if you're using him in like Hydra, for example. Sure, you can book him out for that extra damage. 25% damage is pretty significant, and it does add up over time. So, you know, even these damage books, they are worth it to some extent, you know, if you have the books, if you're, you know, but if you're on a book budget, right, you can definitely get by with the debuffs. Missing on a little bit of damage, not the end of the world. The tactical partner ability is a 4-turn cooldown, no books required, but it is only available when his companion champion Zavia is on the same team. It's going to activate his overkill, so the A3, which is cool because it's not on the same cooldown, right? Kind of a unique ability here. Also going to activate Zavia's Poison Rain, which is an AoE poison that she has on her A2 ability, okay? Obviously only available when she's on the same team. So double activation is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool ability, but again, it's pretty niche, but can be pretty powerful if they're on the same team. Increased crit rate on all battles by 24%. Yeah, I've never been a massive fan of the all battle crit rates, honestly, because seldom are you building specific teams around one champion and then never changing anything. So like basically having the luxury of building everybody to 76% crit rate on your team. But I know some players who do, so it's not to say that you can't use that strategy. It's just never been my favorite. I'd rather have a speed aura or, you know, defense, survivability, whatever I need, accuracy even, or resist before I use crit rate. So I'm not a big fan of that. Let's take a look at his multipliers here, guys. Actually, let's take a look at his area rankings as well, thanks to hellhades.com, the best website in the biz. Guys should all have it bookmarked on your web browser. They give him a 4 overall rating. Honestly, that was a little higher maybe than I was expecting. I was expecting maybe like a 3.5, but 4 is justified, I think, as well on this champion. They mentioned that buff too in patch 6.30. It made him playable again, making him AoE damage dealer with decreased defense in weaken, which we've already discussed. Area rankings, clan boss as your debuffer. Hydra, I think 2 is really way too low for Belanor. We kind of alluded to this earlier. I don't use him in Hydra, right? I do not use him as one of my debuffers, but only because I have a couple Venuses and a Lydia, right? I have 2 Venus copies. Otherwise, I think I might use him, you know? There's not that many options out there, especially affinity-friendly options that you can just kind of plug and play for that AoE decreased defense in weaken. Of course, there's a lot of players who maybe use like an Estrid along with a Michinaki, like comboing, you know, champions that have the AoE weaken, or Lady Mikage, but it's nice to have it on 1 3-turn cooldown. Everything can be nice and synced up as well. I've also met players who run him in a reflex set for Hydra Clan Boss, and they actually shut off that A3 ability. So there's a few different ways we can talk about when we talk about the builds on this champion. Spider, they give him a 4. Spider Hard, they give him a 4. See, I wouldn't give him a 4 out of 5 in Spider Hard. Probably give him like a 2 or 3. Dragon, a 4. Ice Golem Hard, a 4. Ice Golem Easy and Ice Golem Hard. When he's with Zavia on those speed runs, he can be a beast. He can be a beast. So when he's with his companion, because she's all about poison and poison activation. Magma Dragon, Nether Spider, Celestial Griffin, Eternal Dragon, Frost Spider, Dark Fae, all 4 out of 5s. Dreadhorn, a 1. Scarab King, a 3. Again, pretty generous with the rankings. Even on the arena, a 4 out of 5. Maybe I have him like just maybe a nudge below, but I'm being nitpicky here. I have a nudge a higher, I guess, as a Hydra debuffer, and a nudge a lower, I would say, maybe in the arena. But then again, he's a competent debuffer and damage dealer for sure, right? His multipliers, he's a 3.6 on his A1, very, very strong attack. He has a 4.2 on the AoE, which is strong damage grading. And then he has a 6.8 on the overkill ability. That's a godlike damage rating. Obviously, it's the same ability on tactical partner. So overall, those multipliers are really good. He does have only 1 godlike per se, and I found his damage to be good, but not exceptional. That's been my experience. Now, I'm comparing him to other endgame damage dealers out there, damage dealer / debuffer champions out there. To put it in perspective, though, I ran him in Herndig, who also has an AoE decreased defense and weaken in his kit, not in the same ability, though. I ran them separately, but in the same exact gear, with the same masteries. Talked about this in a previous video. And Herndig dealt almost double the damage as a Belanor. Just gonna be real. I hate to talk smack about Belanor on his big feature here on the channel. It's not to say I don't like him at all. I do like him a lot, right? And I think that a lot of players, most players who pull a Belanor can use a Belanor. But as I said since day 1 on this channel, I want to give you my authentic opinion as well. So I was a little bit let down in that damage. That was right after the buff too, with that damage. But overall, don't get me wrong, don't get it twisted. He could be a pretty competent damage dealer for your team as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at the build that we're going to be utilizing today. I don't have him awakened at all. Let me see if I have Herndig awakened, because obviously that could be a factor. He is 3-star awakened on Herndig, so maybe a little bit unfair to compare Belanor directly to him. They're both +2 empowered on my account. I have him in Savage Gear. I have him in a Perception. And hey, this is something you guys can do as well. You're getting Merciless gear if you're using your Cursed City runs. Even if you're on normal, some of that gear is actually pretty good. Some of the artifacts on normal track. Hey, go ahead and put a 1-piece Merciless. People sleep on 1 or even 2-piece Merciless sets on damage dealers. You get a 10% attack just for a 1-piece accessory. That's pretty solid, right? So in this case, guys, I actually went with a defensive Merciless ring over just a regular attack ring that I had available, because I'm still getting more attack from the Merciless. I just took the Merciless off for a moment. So if I equip it back, I gain attack off of a defense ring. So even on damage dealers, because of that 10% attack, sometimes the stats actually work out in your favor, right? So anyway, we do have a defense flat stat ring for some survivability. We'll take it. A little bit of attack on there as well. Then we have crit damage on the amulet. We have HP on the banner. I do want to make a point of this. His HP is very, very low. I think the best source of HP on this champion is going to be the banner. We are sacrificing, obviously, some attack in order to do so. As a matter of fact, this banner isn't the, I mean, it's nice to have the accuracy on there. There's really 3 ways to go: the attack, the accuracy, or survivability. I went survivability, and I think that's a pretty good option. I will go ahead and glyph this out to get a little bit extra attack. So obviously, if you can get the accuracy through perception or through substats on your gear, go with either attack or survivability. I needed survivability because look at his HP, man. It's pretty dang low for the end game. I have speed on the boots, I have attack percentage on the chest, and I have crit damage on the gauntlets. Gear isn't out of this world, obviously. If I had him awakened and I was choosing a blessing, I might actually choose Nature's Wrath. This is going to give us more damage depending on, or for every debuff that we place. Obviously, we're placing the debuffs on a 3-turn cooldown, 2 of them, so that can stack up, especially through the duration of longer battles, pretty quickly. If I'm using him in a shorter battle, maybe a speed run situation, I might go with Cruelty. If I'm running him in the arena, I might consider Soul Reap. If I have him 6-star awakened, I would consider Crushing Rend. Okay, so those would be my recommendations. If I had him 6-star in the arena, I would go with Polymorph. He could also be a Brimstone candidate for your team. It just depends on what you need. If I was going to try to run him in a weird Fire Knight team, I would go with Phantom Touch. Just depends on what you need, you know? Masteries here. We have him built for PvP in today's Mastery loadout here. The only thing I would really change for PvE, I have him built for PvE. Hence the War Master. If I was going to build him for the arena, I would go, or only wave content, I would go with Helm Smasher instead to ignore some defense. Everything else you can basically keep the same. I want to stress for a third and the final time in this video that you don't even need, masteries are pretty important on any champion, but you really just don't need to book them because of this A2, you don't need to. So that's the build, guys. Total stats are going to end up being 42k on the HP, 4,300 on the attack, 3,200 on the defense, 271. Very fast here, very fast. 100, 216, 310 on the accuracy. So I purposely did not put him in insane gear, obviously, right? If you want to look at an end-to-end game Belanor, you're looking at around this speed or so, 200 to 200 to 300 speed range, just depending on the team that you have around him. You're looking at trying to get to like 300 crit damage, a lot higher than we have here. And we're really looking to try to get to like 6,500 on the attack. So that would be like end game stats. But as you've noticed, I have a 5-star epic chest. I have a 5-star crit damage with no good ascension stats or anything like that. I wanted to give a bit of a more realistic build, I guess, to this Belanor, but the stat priorities are going to remain the same regardless. Accuracy, crit rate, crit damage, attack, speed. Those are the 5 that we want to pay attention to. Let's go ahead and try him out. He's not built for the arena. His damage is going to go up exponentially, obviously, if you put my man in a increased attack buff. We really want to get an increased attack champion on the team along with him, at the risk of stating the obvious. Let's start out with a kind of a basic team, try him out in the arena. Again, you don't see Zavia and Belanor in the arena much, guys. Especially with Polymorph, towards gold 4 and beyond. But let's just test him out. Let's lead in with a tactical partner so you can see Zavia instantly activate her Poison Rain ability. So let's go after the Reviver here. And again, man, that was very disappointing damage. I'm not going to lie, guys. That was very disappointing damage considering he was under an increased attack buff. But let's not judge too hard out the gate. Zavia has a block revive on her Deadly Catalyst A3 ability, which is nice. So we were expecting to beat that team. Let's see what he can do here damage-wise, though. Let's try that overkill again and see what we can do against Vogoth. 86k is a bit better. Still looking for those like massive numbers, of course. But let's go against that team just seems really annoying right there. Let's go against this team and hope that we go first, right? Again, I don't think he's gonna. I don't think you're gonna. It's the thing about him in the arena, right? Because I know some people inevitably they go first, so we're gonna lose. But I know some people inevitably will be like, dude, I run him in the arena. He does great. But I guess the thing is he's going to be setting up your damage dealer. I don't think he nukes hard enough to be a super reliable damage dealer in the arena. So that puts you in kind of the awkward situation of having to run another damage dealer outside of him. And if that's going to be the case, I think I would prefer just a Madame Ceres, you know? I think I would prefer someone who's going to remove buffs along with placing the debuffs. Let's try to win a speed race here. Oh, this is a tanky team. All right, guys, this is insane. I just cut because I lost like 5 speed races in a row, okay? So I don't think you guys need to see that again and again. We're just trying to get a quick DPS check. Let's try his A2 right now. We finally won a speed race here. So we're going to try the insurmountable against this fairly squishy team. Not bad. That damage was not bad. We can come in now with Zavia, block revive on everybody, and that will be done. So I would say damage overall, what, like a B+? You guys on the same page as me there in terms of what you can expect from him? Not bad. It's just not going to be like an S tier nuker that you're going to really rely on. He's a void legendary, not a void legendary nuker, a void legendary damage dealer. Is that it? Am I playing semantic game here? Anyway, let me go to a real quick speed run. I want to show you him with Zavia in a speed run fashion. As we know on Zavia, her poison rain is an AoE 2 chance at placing a poison on everybody, and then she has that deadly catalyst where she's going to deal damage from poison debuffs instantly, and then she has a debuff spread on her calamitous partner, taking 4 debuffs from the target and placing them on all enemies. Pretty nasty debuff spread ability there. So I have them with an Artak, a Calvalax to get through the wave content with the instant activation, and then Theodore and Artak are going to solo the actual ice, or duo, the actual ice golem. Sometimes Artak just solos it depending on RNG, right? So basically, the way that I'm using Belanor and the Zavia here is simply to get through the wave content, right? He's going to come in there and he is going to obviously debuff everybody, do a little bit of damage. He has the instant activation, which is really nice. So you can add poisons vis-a-vis the tactical partner. I don't even have it set up right. But on that first wave, instead of going with the debuffs, which is nice on Belanor, but it's not exactly what we're looking for. We can stack up all those poisons to be even more if we lead off with a tactical partner instead, okay? Lead off with tactical partner. You'll place potentially 2 poisons on everybody vis-a-vis Zavia, and then you can come in with Zavia, and you can deadly catalyst, right? That's how you want to pull it. So do as I say, not as I do, but you guys saw Zavia in action at least, right? And Belanor can be utilized in these speed teams. Now, in addition to that, we can use Zavia to deny revival on these 2 minions here in the Ice Golem, as we kind of alluded to earlier. Now, it's not going to work on this strategy. This strategy, everybody's meant to die, right? Kind of like a Seer team. We want her to die. We're not going to be using Karma Burn anymore against the Ice Golem. Well, on this team, we want everybody who helped us on the wave content to wipe out so we can make things faster here against the actual Ice Golem. Ideally, even Theodore would die, which he did. Theodore, I have kind of tanky on my team because he needs to stay alive to solo the dragon on my Dragon Hard 10 speed run. So here's Artak just kind of doing his thing. Let me come back at you guys at the end of this one. We'll watch a quick little Cursed City wave as well with these 2 champions. Be right back. All right, guys, so it took a little while longer than average, but obviously Belanor not bringing a ton of damage, but can do a great job setting up Zavia. Let me just show you really quickly. I'm not going to show the entire run. Don't worry. Turn off super rates, kind of maybe throwing some energy down the drain here, but this is what I was talking about here. We lead off with a tactical partner. Zavia goes right in with a poison rain, adds in a bunch of extra poisons there, right? And then you can see on poison rain, it's still not on cooldown, right? So it will instantly activate, but similar to how instant activations work in this game, it's not going to put that skill on cooldown. And on the second wave, we basically come in here and we get rid of the poisons using a combo of Theodore and then a little bit of Artak as well to place burns and then instantly activate them. So that's kind of how this team worked, in case you guys were curious, and that's how you use the tactical partner when you're using them together there to get more poisons, and it really alleviates the necessity if you don't have like a Calvalax on your account, right? If you want to run whoever you have, Richtoff the Bold or whatever, and Eurogrim, who only has 2 poisons, maybe you want to run him, you don't have a Calvalax, you can utilize Belanor to activate Zavia, right? That would be how you would do that. All right, let's go ahead and run into, not into here, into Curse City. I was just using them on a, the hardest awakening stage in the game. I was using him. I can't use Zavia on the same team. I think she's eligible to be picked, but I don't have her awakened at all. I don't have him awakened at all, but he's being used in the awakening stage as my debuffer here. I will say one thing about him. I think one reason, you saw this on some of the viewer request comments, one reason that people don't use Belanor more often in the game is honestly Lydia the Death Siren. We mentioned her earlier. You know, Venus is great too. We're going against her here. But we mentioned Lydia as being another Void Affinity, Decreased Defense, and Weakened champion. The thing is Lydia, you know, this is not a controversial statement. I think she's way better than Belanor in most cases. The only thing that Belanor has on her is damage in that partner ability alongside a Zavia, right? The tactical partner A4. However, that's not to say it's useless. Obviously, damage is great in that partner utility. We just saw it in Ice Golem, right? But I do think that when you get a Zavia, a Lydia, in a situation like this, I would just use Lydia, not a Belanor, for example. That's why I bring it up, right? It's because I have both of them on my account, and when I originally cleared this this stage, I just ran Lydia. I'll take the increased speed, and I'll take the strengthen, and I'll take the passive and everything like that, right? He did die for a little time here, as you saw on this second wave. Let's actually go in and take it off auto here so we can see what he can bring to the table here on the wave 3, and he has his A2 ready to go. You saw that increased crit rate on everybody. And again, on this team, right, I have Ethos and I have Mikage. They're both at 100% crit rate. I probably have Mithrala at like a 40% crit rate. I have Arbiter at like a 10-20% crit rate. So again, I mean, like, am I going to get a ton of damage from Mithrala and from Arbiter? No. But in longer battles, it does make a little bit of a difference, right? So we're going to come in here, apply Hex, and increase attack on Belanor, and everybody else for that matter. We are going to go in with the debuffs, right? So again, not bad on the damage. Let's compare that damage on his AoE to an Ethos. Granted, Ethos is a boss, and he's also going against a... he has the debuffs to take advantage of, right, when he goes into nuke. Let's, I don't know, let's pop off Gottfried, I guess. This is an interesting little wave here, right? A Karato, a Yumeko, which is annoying. And then they have Borgar and Trunda and I just said his name and I already Gottfried. All right. Have I done guides on all these champions? I'm at the point with 400 guides on the channel, guys, that I'm like, I'm always looking for a champion that I haven't done a guide yet, right? Because even I have officially lost all track of everything. I have to type in the YouTube channel every day that I go to record something. I have to type in the name to see if I already have a video on the champion, right? Anyway, I digress. Let's get that final shot. Let's see if we can get a final shot here. Let's cleanse him. And let's speed boost. And let's try to overkill for the win against Yumeko. Boom. Huh. I got to keep reminding myself he's not in insane gear or anything like that. But I've never been absolutely wowed by his damage. However, it's decent. It's decent. Guys, what do you think of Belanor? Do you think I was too hard on him? Hopefully you don't think I feel like every video that I say anything, even veering on negative about a champion, people take exception in the comments. I'm not seeing the right picture and yada, yada, yada. But I try to give you, again, as I said earlier, my authentic take on these champions. And I think overall, I do think he's like a B grade champion. The nice thing is you can get utility out of him without even booking him, especially in areas like this, in faction wars, especially if you're in progression, focusing on just like progressing in Doom Tower and stuff like that. Guys, that's going to do it for the guide. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, take care, guys.